Did you see the stylish?
Welcome to the Young IPA podcast. I'm James, this is Pete.
G'day, everyone.
It is the 5th of February. Is that not right? I don't think that's right. It's the 6th of February. It is episode 144, and we've got a loaded show for you guys coming up.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole lot of topics to discuss. There was a lot of news around Australia and around the world this week, and including the IPA at the forefront of two big stories,
absolutely.
which were the shutting down of Generation Liberty stall at the OWIG at Queensland University of Technology, QUT. So Generation Liberty applied to have a stall there so students could come and they could sign up and be a part of Generation Liberty, and the QUT Guild has shut that down. They said that that Generation Liberty doesn't align with QUT standards, which is incredible because last time I checked, Generation Liberty is just about freedom and free markets. So you just think of those values as like, how is that not okay with QUT? But we're going to be talking to the guy at the center of it, who is the Generation Liberty campus coordinator at QUT, the guy that's been on the phone with QUT and also the media, Chris Dekker. He's on the show. And then he also sticks around for the quiz where Gideon is going for the unprecedented 4th victory in a row, which I still think is a record, but I haven't checked.
I think it's a record.
I think it is a record.
Like the Magpies in the 20s, 4 premierships in a row.
The 1920s. Well, I'm just glad we're making pop culture references from Pete. It just happened to be from the 1920s.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you're looking forward to at the show?
We're discussing right at the end about the podcast bump and the podcast inburst bump.
Yeah.
Who comes on the podcast and then does well with their career or doesn't do well. And I'm
we need to
forward
figure out if we actually have a tangible effect on people's careers and whether that's positive or negative.
And our own careers.
And our own careers.
You know,
it'd be good.
Is this a good move?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is this what we want to be doing? Now, the other story that the IPA is at the center of, which we should get into, Pete, is this Freedom of Information request, and especially in regards to the actions of the Attorney General's Department and Andrew Cooper.
Exactly right. Now, we spoke to the Undertaker last week. The Undertaker known, of course, as
You
Evan
are
Mulholland.
going so hard on this nickname, and it's endearing, but I don't know if it's going to catch on.
He was talking about Malcolm Turnbull's hypocrisy. We can't have him on every week, unfortunately.
No.
But so we're going to have to do this without him. But he submitted an FOI request from the IPA to the Attorney General's Department that revealed Tony Abbott and the President of Liberty Works, Andrew Cooper, friend of the show, were targeted.
And he broke the story on the show.
He broke the story on this show,
Yes.
which people forget. That they were targeted by the Attorney General's Department under the, what's it called? The Foreign Influence and Transparency Scheme. Now, we already knew that. What the FOI request revealed is that they were directed by Mark Dreyfus, the Shadow Attorney General. So effectively, the Labor Party directed the bureaucracy to attack a political opponent.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's worse, that the Labor Party did that the bureaucracy said, okay, no worries, or that it's the coalition that passed the laws in the first place.
I'm going to take option D, all of the above. So here's what we've actually found from the Freedom of Information request, and this is like literally what we've been given. So on 22 July 2019, senior representatives of the Integrity and Security Division provided the Shadow Attorney General with a briefing on the implementation of the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme. Now, during the meeting, Mr. Dreyfus queried the application of the scheme to foreign political organisations holding events in Australia. He specifically raised the upcoming Conservative Political Action Conference to be held in Sydney as an example of an event that may trigger registration obligations under the scheme, and then kicker asked what the department planned to do about it.
What do you plan to do about it?
So, here's something. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, exactly right. And as we know, that they were asked to produce documents. Now, Andrew Cooper had a good summation of this event, very succinct. He said, it's a contemptible and cowardly act.
Good. Yeah. Short, sharp, and to the point.
Great stuff.
The Andrew Cooper effect. So, part of me goes, it's obviously terrible that unelected bureaucrats are doing this, but I just think it's slightly worse that Labor have the ability to ask for it to happen, because you think if you're a public servant, and I know this happened like 2 months after an election, so it's not like Mark Dreyfus is going to be your boss anytime soon, but he could be.
Yeah.
And he might remember the fact that you didn't do things, so you just go like, well, you put in a pretty tough position.
Oh no, exactly right. And Mark Dreyfus has a what's the word, past in doing stuff like this. He instigated the investigation of Bridget McKenzie, as we'll talk about later.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit of a worry.
All right, so the other things we need to discuss at the top of the show, we need to run through the leadership spills.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes. So we've got the Nationals and we've got the Greens. So which one do you want to start with?
Let's go to the Nats first.
All right, so the Nats happened. So Barnaby Joyce challenged Michael McCormack for the leadership. They had the coalition they had the party room meeting at like 8:30 in the morning, which just seems brutal.
How come? What's your problem?
Okay, one, I hate meetings in general, less before I've had my coffee. And second part is, like, if you're Barnaby Joyce and you lose it, you've got to spend the rest of the day with
sitting
that.
there.
Just being like, well, now what?
Yeah, well, they're all farmers, mate. I mean, they all get up at 5 o'clock, like 8:30 is
Oh,
late
yeah,
for
I
them.
forgot they're real people. No, unlike me.
8:30?
Yeah, there's an 8:30 now. So the other part that needs to be discussed is like, okay, so the National Party, they do it as a secret ballot thing. So we don't officially know what the voting breakdown was. But Peter Van Onselen going that it's 11-10, McCormack v. Joyce, is interesting.
Okay.
I mean, it is Peter Van Onselen, so it could just as easily be 21 zip, or it could be any collection of numbers at all.
Yep.
And
snarky, I like it.
In a way, 11-10, since Peter Van Onselen tweeted, is the least likely result of any of them that could be. But we'll take them for what it's worth.
Yeah.
11-10, I will say this story's not over.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what people are saying. If it's that close, that
Yep.
means he doesn't have the long-term, support of the group.
Yes.
I reckon. I mean, look, I'm no political strategist, James. And
Oh,
you
dear.
know, I don't necessarily know what the people in rural areas of this country want. But surely Barnaby Joyce has more cut through than Michael McCormack.
Yeah, it's just like one of those
For all
things
his
where so much coverage was given to his relationship problems, and people are just like, I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, he's no angel, but who is James?
No one. Donald Trump's president. You think people care who's an angel or
Yeah,
not?
exactly. Whomst am I to judge?
Whomst
Cast the
am
first
I, dude?
stone.
All right, so should we chuck it over to the Greens?
Yeah, so the Greens, Richard entirely retired to spend more time with his family. Fair enough. Adam Bant is the new leader. Kick things off with a bang, saying big business that makes its money by killing people and endangering people's safety should be worried. So that's a pretty big start from Adam. Remember the biofuels craze, mate, that sent 30 million people into risk of starvation? Don't think the Greens should be getting too far ahead to themselves.
That is snarky.
Well,
if I'm snarky about Peter V, that was snarky.
Yeah. I mean, let's not get into
snark off
policies of the Greens that have affected poor people over the years. Now, another thing about Adam Bant, James, that you might notice
is that he looks like Richard Di Natale.
Do you reckon?
I reckon he does.
Do you reckon?
I just reckon you don't even need to change the promotional materials.
I've never thought of it that way. I don't think he looks that much like him, but in a sense he does, because what I'm going for, this is the party of diversity, James. This is the party that says there's structural oppression. We have yet another white male in charge.
Damn it.
Well, we should have meetings before we do this. But anyway, Adam Bant, yet another white male. So according to the Greens, and this is their game, it's not what I believe, their game is 50%. If 50% of leaders aren't women, then sexism, discrimination, oppression. Now, they've had 4 leaders, the Greens, since 1992. They were started, 4 leaders. Only 1 woman, that's 25%. But I did some maths.
Okay.
We've had a female leader of the Greens for only 3 years of 28.
Now
that is
percentage
10.71%.
Oh, there we go. That was very impressive.
Based on the I used to calculate.
I just want to take a time to acknowledge the work that Peter Gregory put into this.
I don't come into this unprepared, Joe.
No, you do not.
Now these. My question to the Greens is, based on your logic, is this not evidence of sexism? I
think this is entrenched patriarchy, to be honest. The other point I'm going to bring up about the Greens is that they elected Adam Bant as the leader, and they also have Larissa Waters and Nick McKim as the deputy leaders. Now, there are 10 Greens in federal parliament, and 3 of them are in the senior leadership team.
Yeah.
Seems a bit of micromanaging for me.
Yeah, it's like
I know this is a party that want to control every aspect of life, but I think 3 out of 10 is senior leadership. That's a bit much.
It's too many.
It's too many.
It's a bit too participation prize. Everyone gets an award.
Exactly my thoughts.
1 deputy is enough.
All right, sweet. So we now got the heroes and villains section, unless there's anything more you want to say?
No, that's all I've got.
Very cool. All right, so heroes and villains. We'll start off with the heroes, as we do every week, with the Grunt the Pig Freedom Snort of the week. These are people that have stood up for liberty and for people's freedom around the world. Pete, your hero.
Josh, roll the tape. James, after 3.5 years, 2 general elections, after 17.4 million people gave the British government the biggest mandate in the history of British democracy, and after all the treachery from the traitors who decided to subvert the democratic will of the British people, as of 11 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, on January 31, the British are out of the EU. Well, they're in the transition period, but out of the EU.
You killed that moment.
Roll the tape.
Give it some bloody... Again, Pete, you've come out with some amazing statistics. I'm just loving the statistic play from this.
Well, it's hard to find all that information. It took, 8 seconds of Googling.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just like, you got to sit back and just go, I mean, I know it's not no deal, which is what Pete and I wanted, but...
And we're the important ones.
And we're the important ones. We're the big stakeholders. I know it's not a no deal, but like I was genuinely getting to the point last year where I'm like, there might not actually be a Brexit. Like I was on the show saying there's going to be a second referendum. They won't be given a good leave option. It was just going to go. So, I mean, you know, you shouldn't be too happy with the fact that a democratically elected vote took 3.5 years to implement, but I'm still pretty happy that it happened.
Yeah, and you get that genuine thing like, if this doesn't happen, like, what does that mean? That means that they can steal democracy.
Yes,
that democracy isn't real.
If you choose badly, the elites will take it away from you.
They'll take it off
because you did bad.
But they couldn't, and obviously we've had, you know, Brendan O'Neill, Nigel Farage even, Mr. Brexit himself on the show, Dan Hannan, and the British people have said actually we like being British a little bit more than maybe an extra % of GDP.
Yes.
If that in fact actually happens.
All right, I think they might get both, to be honest. Now, let's. My hero this week is the mighty Deeners Cricket Club.
Boom.
The mighty Deeners Cricket Club.
About bloody time.
So 2 weeks from 2 weeks ago on the show, Sports Awards had come out, and Peter Gregory here, the vice captain.
Not anymore. No, I got the ass for that. Actually.
I didn't know that. That was not me trying to tell you.
No, new blood. But, whatever. Thanks, Harry.
What did I say? Tribal elder of the cricket club.
Definitely spiritual leader for sure.
You made a solemn pitch to Bridget McKenzie to include the Deeners in sports awards. You cited how the Deeners are in an electorate that might be getting a bit marginal, and you wanted the money. Now, Bridget McKenzie didn't cough up, and you were good cop. You tried to play good cop. Then Bad Cop Peter came out, and Bridget McKenzie subsequently has resigned. So, is this the biggest scalp the Deeners have ever had?
The Deeners have got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies.
Yep.
And maybe I wasn't quite clear to Bridget that if we didn't receive the funding we desired, heads were going to roll. All right?
Yeah.
And no, she's not the biggest scalp the Deeners have ever had.
Who is the biggest scalp the Deeners have ever had?
I don't want to say. Because
Really?
It's secret. So, but... just do what we say.
All right. Well, there we go. If you do want to read more about that, Daniel Ward had an interesting article on IPA.org.au talking about how Bridget McKenzie is just part and parcel with the Attorney General Department, where Bridget McKenzie was done by unelected bureaucats also meddling in politics. So there is a serious point to be made there.
And a few of her own actions probably played a part as well.
I would say. Cough up the fact that you're a member of the shooting club. Now, I also want to ask you, is 2019 probably not the year of the Deeners?
No.
Is 2020 looking like the year of the Deeners?
Well, we're coming up, we're coming up.
Heads are rolling. You're winning. You're making plays off the field.
Yeah.
Now, will this translate to on-field success?
We've started winning a few games.
Yep.
But we're still last, and we probably need to win our last two. We're probably going to win on the weekend, but it got rained out. It was day 2. Anyway, we've got 2 more games. We probably need to win them both. We definitely need to win them both to not get relegated.
All right, cool. Now, Pete, would you like to throw us over to villains? Because I refuse to play this clip.
Extinction Rebellion protests enter their 6th day. The activists are trying to pressure the Australian government.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was, of course, the October Extinction Rebellion nudie run to save the planet.
Nudie run in inverted commas for people listening at home.
People listening. Couldn't even be bothered getting fully naked. Not a real nudie run. Thanks for coming. Anyway, the Extinction Rebellion Fake Nudie Run Villain of the Week award is now what we call the award for Villain of the Week. James, what do you got for me?
What do I have here? I got Joaquin Phoenix. Now, the BAFTAs, which Peter Gregory learned about on the show. You'll hear Peter Gregory learn about in the quiz, the fact that the BAFTAs exist.
Yeah.
So Joaquin Phoenix won the BAFTA for Best Actor for Joker, as obviously he should. That was an amazing performance. But he's starting to come into my crosshairs because... he uses his acceptance speech at the BAFTAs to call out white privilege. And you just think we get a lot of, political statements at award ceremonies, but it's becoming a trend if you'll stay with me. So you had him about
incels.
Yeah, you had him coming up and saying that he felt conflicted by his victory, quote, because so many of my fellow actors who are deserving don't have that same privilege. He added, quote, we send a very clear message to people of colour that you're not welcome here. I notice he did not turn down the award.
Well, that's the point I was
making. If you're really cut up about the fact that there are no black people nominated, rescind your nomination, ask for a black person to be given the nomination instead.
Exactly right. And not only that, James, but the American median income, more research, $47,060.
Another stat?
$47,060.
Yep.
Give away all your money except for that much. You can keep that much. That's the median income. If that's what you reckon. If the system's oppressive and discriminatory, put your money where your mouth is, Joaquin.
And so the reason I say this is an ongoing trend is that the story also, he was nearly my villain at the start of the year because the designer Stella McCartney announced to the whole world that the Joker star would only wear one of her tuxedos for the entire award system to help fight climate change. Yeah. I noticed he also flew over to Britain to go to the Baptist.
Yeah, and he's
how many tuxedos does it take to fly over the, you don't go equal.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt didn't go to the Baptist. There was an option to not go to the Baptist.
Is that because of climate change or?
I don't know. I just think,
want to watch the Super Bowl. Yeah. And his tux is worth 15 grand anyway.
Exactly. And this brings me to my final point with this villain, and I know I'm going along with it, but it's just like Joaquin Phoenix, look at the camera. Joaquin, we get it. You're not the Joker. You're not actually the Joker. None of us believe you are. You can stop sucking up and you can stop promoting left-wing things because no one actually thinks that you're the Joker and stands up for what the Joker was fighting for. It's just a movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Settle down, Joaquin.
Okay, cool.
All right,
over to you.
My villain, very quick one here. Just trying to find it on my page. On Monday, the Australian government has increased the dreaded alcohol tax. Now, the alcohol tax has been increasing every 6 months for 35 years. So I think they get a chance to review it every 6 months. And lo and behold, it's gone up 71 times in a row. 35 years, it went up by 1.2%. A massive 42% of the retail price on a carton of beer is taxed. 42%, James. That's a disgrace. The Brewers Association of Australia calculated that Australians paid $2.23 per litre of alcohol in tax on stubbies, cans and long necks, compared with just 28 cents in the US and 12 cents in Germany. Now, my villain isn't the government, James. My villain is the Australian people. Oh. I just spoke about the Poms who won Brexit despite what their government tried to do to them. We accept this tax. Let's stand up and fight for it.
Yeah.
You know, if we want, no alcohol tax, don't lay down and take it.
Do we have to renounce our membership from the EU to get back in your good books? Is there just going to be no Australian Eurovision this year?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure, but the Australian people for accepting this situation.
Yeah,
my feeling for this
just so you people at home. This helps me figure about it. But with 42% of the price of beer being taxed, that we pay as much in tax on a beer as rich people do on income. It's getting that bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not as good as stats as you are. But anyway, this is how you promote the free market ideology to people that don't care about politics. Is you just go, do you know how cheap beer is in places that are not Australia? Because we can get there. It's not a matter of supply.
Yeah.
It's just tax.
Bit of tax chat on the Saturday night.
All right, let's now go to our interview with Chris Dekker. So we're going to be hearing a lot about Generation Liberty and the stuff that people are up against when they try and promote the ideas of free markets and freedom of speech on university campuses. So if you do want to get involved in Generation Liberty, if you do want to hear about these ideas, if you do want to get involved in the great community of Generation Liberty members that we have, there's over 1,000 now, head on over to ipa.org.au/join. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. There's so many ways you can connect with Generation Liberty and just be a part of the community. So let's go to that interview now.
Let's do it.
Okay, we now welcome on to the show someone who has been at the centre of a media firestorm for the last week. We want to get you on the show and talk about the whole thing. So Chris Dekker, Generation Liberty Campus Coordinator at QUT in Queensland. Now, let's start from the start with this story because Generation Liberty, they get O Week's coming up, all the universities are going back. Generation Liberty is going to have a store where people can sign up. That was all, looking pretty good. It's looking good under a lot of universities across Australia. Then what happened?
Yes, so on the 24th of January, which was Friday, we were informed from QUT after we had filled out our paperwork details for an O-Week stall, including insurance and all that kind of hoo-ha to jump through, that we didn't meet the QUT Guild's standards. We sent out an email within the hour, and then we got a automated reply from the person saying that they would be on leave until the 5th of February, which was funny given they'd emailed us half an hour earlier. But then fortunately on Monday we got a follow-up email saying that that there would be no appeals process. That they had referred it to a committee, and at the guild we apparently don't meet their standards, whatever they are. When we were booking the form, I have the market day registration.
There is a prop
here
for people listening at home. There's a very well filled out form.
Yeah.
Every box is checked, which I like.
So going through this, their terms and conditions is very small. It's literally just this page here. there's really nothing that I think that we would have broken. I mean, under promotional material, it says, anything that can be deemed discriminatory or offensive is not allowed on campus. But I mean, all of ours is pretty just.
We like freedom of speech and free markets.
It's nothing outrageous. So it was really just, I think, the consensus of the guild. Later on Facebook, after the article in the Australian broke, the president of the QUT Guild, Olivia Brum, is basically making out like we're lying, and that initially said that we were applying for an O-Week booth, and then said it's only for Market Week is only for external organisations, because we were applying for both. Market Week is only for external organisations and clubs, and the external orgs have to provide products and services to students, which we do. You pay $10 and you get a cool little goodie bag with some books and I think we got temporary tattoos and and like nice bottle card openers. It seems really cool.
14-year-old birthday parties up on its neck. But so who is this guild? Like, are they students? Are they university administrators?
Right.
Like, what's their deal?
So they're the student elected body, and basically they had an election last year that was kind of put together last minute because their constitutional reforms failed, and their constitution had even said at the electoral tribunal that it was written really awfully, and a lawyer had written it. And now they have to run new democratic student elections in March because most of the positions were illegally contested, basically.
So they said to you your values don't align with those of QUT. What values are they? And what do you think? How does that make you feel when you know that the Social Alternative is allowed to have a stall, and they are on record as saying they're a Trotskyist organisation? And obviously the Trotsky has this awful history. They're okay to have a stall, but we're not.
They've even said some, allegedly anti-Semitic, depending on who you ask, remarks.
Yes, like the long history of socialism. They're not big fans of Jews, like traditionally going back through history.
Perhaps not. No, putting it lightly. But our values are, we're not a homogenous organisation. There's plenty of people who have internal disagreements, but generally it's freedom of speech, democracy, the rule of law, political freedoms, these sorts of things that unite kind of conservatives and libertarians and people on the centre right without being
and I'd say people on the left as well. I mean, like freedom of speech and stuff like that has long been like a left-wing thing as well.
Well, I'm considered the lefty in the Generation Liberty office. I mean, I'm a libertarian. I came from the left, so I mean, it's meant to unite us and kind of educate younger people who perhaps don't hear about those sorts of things in class anymore, and they also get to hear from influential lecturers and academics and politicians and that sort of thing. So it's really a good opportunity and great value for money at $10.
Yeah,
can I just say?
Put the banner up on the bottom of the screen for people watching at home. But see, this is the thing. So the University Guild comes out and they say, this market week thing, it's only for social clubs and stuff like that. We don't let organisations like that. But you can't ban Generation Liberty, but allow Socialist Alternative to be around.
It's registered clubs and external organisations at the market week, and we were fine with being the latter because we're not registered at the university. But and later on, they tried telling us that they weren't going to allow. They chose to not allow political organisations on campus, and I mean, we're not a political party. We're quasi-political at best, in the same way that Amnesty International or Cancer Council are, who frequently show up on campus, and there's nothing wrong with that. But once again, these are quasi-political nature because they're topics that people have opinions about. But in terms of not allowing us, they had no notice of not allowing political external organisations on campus. And this form, I don't think we have it here on this particular one, but a form attached to this basically saying that to show you how outdated these forms are was like their target audience is Gen Y, and I mean that's like that's like people over 25 now. So they really need to get their act together if they are going to just pick and choose what type of external organisations.
Yeah, there's just like a logo on the bottom saying share us on MySpace. But like This seems to be a problem long-standing
I
with.
think
Yeah, they've got Napster. This seems to be a long-standing problem with QUT because, like, people, long-time listeners of the show / long-time followers of Australian politics would know QUT came up. I think it was like 2012 or maybe a bit later when Callum Thwaites was one of the students that got embroiled because of this freak out on Facebook over what was not written in a discussion because a white person was kicked out of a Indigenous-only computer lab. So, like, is there a systemic bias problem at QUT? Is this something that keeps on coming up, or is this just where all universities are at?
I think you'll find it across a lot of public institutions. It's not necessarily something that's inherently been deliberately seeded. I just think it's something that over time happens when you need to put these kind of virtue signaling, policies in place to appease everyone. The QUT Guild is, it's a student elected body, so I guess they have the argument that that's what people elected them for. But I think when we talk about kind of cancel culture or left-wing bias on campus, sometimes it's overt, but at QUT it seemingly is behind closed doors or subvert. So when I have lectures, I don't have these crazy University of Sydney lectures where, they tell you, I'm going to make you a communist by the end of this or something like that. Because we don't have a humanities department, which is fantastic, by the way. They got rid of that like a decade ago. But it's more the subvert messaging that for people coming direct out of high school, I'm learning about topics that some of them, I know a fair bit of background reading on. But if you're coming direct from high school and, that you're listening to a professor, a PhD, with, someone you greatly respect on an area or a topic that you're greatly interested about, you should be hearing both sides of the story. So I think that, the overt bias that you hear about in university, to me, like, I don't care about that. Everyone's got an opinion. It's like people who complain about Sky News bias. It's like, if you can't see the bias on Sky News, like, get your head wrong,
Yeah. And if you don't like the bias, then, change the channel.
Well, true, and that's the
There are so many channels.
That's the thing about QUT. You could, if you're a private organisation, discriminate between which types of organisations you're going to have on your campus. But the QUT Guild's funded by student services fees, which are they're compulsorily acquired from students. You have no option but to pay them if you want to get your marks and graduate. Or even, I think some universities prevent you from even being able to use library resources until you've paid them. And that would be fair if they were just for facilities, but these go to student guilds, which aren't voluntary.
So just on that, so they're meant to represent the students, these people. What has been the reaction of your fellow students to this?
It's been pretty divided. I think there's certainly a lot of people who just don't care, which is fair, that's kind of why I argue for voluntary SAF, because there are a lot of people who just don't care about politics. And that's fine. But there are, people on both sides who just say that, oh, you're lying, or, oh, Generation Liberty's lying. And I think, if from telling you the full story, it seems that, I don't know if they're lying, but they certainly haven't got their act together if they don't. It's a very mixed reaction. I think the left seems to keep trying to attack me online and be like, oh, we got you. I typed out this giant novel with, it basically may as well have, be an audio book. It's that long. And it's like, I live rent-free in your head. Like, I don't have to reply to any of this stuff.
Yeah. The secret thrill of getting a long comment like that and not reading it. It's just like knowing they're out there.
Too long didn't read.
Can't wait for this response and it never comes.
Well, I've just been replying to QUT Guild president with just photos of a beer on like Friday and Saturday. It's like, I'm not reading this. I'm doing better things.
All right, fantastic. One of the better things you have been doing is that you had your first appearance on Sky News, which means that all three of us, we're now Sky News affiliates, I would say. We're people that have been on.
Yeah. Yep. So he just bagged as well after going on it.
Sorry?
And he just bagged them as well after going on it.
Please let me back on.
Yeah, exactly. So what your first time on TV, what was it like?
I think daunting at first, but don't have a lot of fears. It was not to brag, but
What's that
it was a very short appearance. I gave very long answers to the extent that I think that Chris Kenny was like, all right, let's wrap this up and get this guy off the air. And also before, because I got called like half an hour before I was due to appear, and we had to run down. Roscom quickly gave me a razor, and I was in the bathroom with water going like, and then Gideon sat me down in the private room and was just like, basically simulated what it's.
It's like a meeting room for those at home who
don't understand.
room.
Yeah, no, it's not a private dance room. It's it's just a room with a phone in it that we take quiet calls in.
Yeah.
Oh, the quiet room, right?
Quiet room. Right.
Open plan office. Carry on.
Yes.
Gone, all right, and we will get this back on track.
Okay. Well, yeah. So and then Gideon just sat me down in the room and basically just was like, went through all the types of answers, and he's like, oh, you seem pretty good for your first go. I didn't even need to give you a beer. So, yeah, I think
Gideon School of Media.
Yeah, give him a beer.
All right, well, he's about to be on this show, so we'll address that particular part of the media strategy with him.
Yeah.
My one was like, when I was on the Bolt Report last, they put my Twitter handle up on the screen, but I forgot to turn off my phone. So for the entire interview, my phone was just vibrating with people just like either following or replying to tweets. And I was like, very hard to lose yourself into a TV interview and continue conversation with like a constant reminder that there are people watching you at all times.
They've on other media appearances, I think on American TV, there was one time where they were like interviewing a journalist on Skype, like who'd like a whistleblower or something, and then someone else kept like Skyping him, like some like dude in his basement with like a hairy chest or something.
Dude, you're on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, fantastic. So, Generation Liberty, become a member if you're at QUT. It's apparently become a lot harder for you to become a Generation Liberty member, so make sure you are going to the IPA website, liking us on Facebook, Instagram, and following the YouTube channel, and make sure you're getting involved because it's an awesome thing to do. All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, we've got another round of the Young IPA quiz coming up for you. Loaded panel this week. We have Chris, we just spoke to in an interview.
Double Dekker.
Quiz. Double Dekker is, I think, the nickname that Peter slash...
Temporary top decker.
He's not happy with that. So Chris Dekker, Generation Liberty Campus Coordinator. Gideon Rosner, returning champion, going for the unprecedented fourth in a row. I think that would be a record.
I'd say
that would be a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want about
we'll
7 in a row.
We'll see. Hopefully the quiz machinery doesn't break down like the Iowa Democratic Party's has today. So.
Yeah, and then we find out that the winner was a
I don't
person
want to be
wanted
rocked like
win
Bernie's
all
about to
along.
be.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the Roof C on the one and only Peter Gregory.
Roof.
Coming at you.
Were
All
you
right.
backing Bernie?
Sorry?
Were you backing Bernie?
No, just like when they take it, like the person that gets the most votes better win, and they stole it from Bernie in 2016, and they're going to steal it from him again.
I'm backing Bernie.
Bernie bro.
He may be a socialist,
Dekker
but he's
is
a
a Bernie
democratic
bro.
socialist. I'm backing Warren. I think that she will
Wow.
make Hillary Clinton look like Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, there
Trump
we
will
go.
eat her alive.
Yeah,
Can you imagine the
you're going for
debates?
someone from the perspective of who Trump is going to beat by the most margin.
Well, I don't want any of them to be president. I mean,
But if one of them had to be,
I probably not Bloomberg. I couldn't stand for the guy who took away giant,
and he
soft
shakes
drinks.
dogs by the mouth.
He may be the most
I don't
moderate.
get over that.
I would have to go with Mayor Pete. I kind of like
Mayor
the cut of
Pete?
Mayor Pete's jib. He's mild. He's inoffensive.
I'm leaning Yang Gang. I don't like UBI, but he's good
yeah.
on so many other things that I lean Yang Gang.
Well, we're interested in who the Clintons decide's going to win then.
Yeah, it still could be Hillary. I'm not ruling that out.
Well, I reckon the TAC one would
Might
be...
get your beer closer to that microphone. There we go.
The tactical one would be Bernie, and then just getting Pete Booty Keg to be the VP nom, because he'll
Yeah.
get all the donuts.
There we go. All right. Now, this is a quiz.
Let's quiz
and
it.
we shall quiz. All right.
Rip through it.
So, 9 questions, 1 point on for correct, 1 point off for incorrect. We've got a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who am I at the end? Buzzers are your first names, and I think we're all good. Wow,
Yep.
that was loud click from Pete. But he gave me double the
That should be a
bunch of
buzzer.
pistols. So this man's ready to quiz. All right. So we had the leadership spill this morning. Who is now the leader of the Greens?
Adam Ban.
And Ban is correct.
You
should've-
finished that question
I
before.
did. You said it so quickly. I didn't have time to
That's all
stop
right.
talking.
Fortune favours the brave.
It
That
does.
was that
All right.
was.
We had another leadership spill today. Who is?
Michael McCormack.
That is correct. Who was the leader of the Nationals?
Oh, didn't change up the questions.
Who?
So?
Didn't change up. Went for the who's the leader of the... Didn't go with who's not the leader.
Yeah,
Just to sort
I
of...
thought so. I should have done that.
Anyway,
oh well.
that's
all right. Question 3. Who won the Super Bowl?
Roof.
Roof.
Oh, Kansas City. Do I have to say the team? The thing?
I
can
think
either say the
take that
team or the
'cause I had no
state.
idea.
Do one better than Trump.
Missouri.
Yes. All right, I'll give him that.
Trump got that wrong. What a king of Twitter.
That's an honest
That was nearly a
mistake.
dump moment. That was nearly a dump moment. Unbelievable. It is the
Unprofessional.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, I was going to say that anyway.
There we go.
I should get 2 points.
You should. All right. Question number 4. 1 point for all so far. Good start. Which Labor figure met with the Attorney General's Department and asked them? Dekker got there
Oh,
first.
yeah, it was definitely Dekker.
Dreyfus.
Dreyfus is correct. Mark Dreyfus.
first
I mean,
name. Just kidding.
Oh, there
Kansas
are
City
a few
what?
Dreyfus.
Kansas City what?
Middle name.
Kansas City what? Yes, Mark Dreyfus is the Labor figure that met with the Attorney General's Department and asked them to target CPAC Australia. Make sure you're going to ipa.org.au to read all about that.
Front page of the Australian.
Indeed. Very good shout out. Not an extra point though. But good try.
done, Evan.
Okay, so we just had the Iowa caucus, which we spent way too long discussing.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Gideon.
Gideon.
New Hampshire.
It is correct.
Yeah.
All right, very good. This is a hot quiz. This is like a lot of points going off.
The eagle-eyed viewer would realise that we haven't got the scoreboard up on the screen today.
Yep.
So that's Bolt's fault.
Yes.
And that's all I wanted to say.
We don't?
No, we're going to put it up the end.
I just got it's just like it was adding stuff to the editing process. I always got it wrong anyway, so I will just back myself in as the quizmaster extraordinaire.
Yep.
For no reason at all because I do not deserve to be backed in. Now, which film just won the BAFTA Best Picture?
Oh, God.
Oh,
There
the
we go.
BAFTA. The BAFTA?
I didn't even watch award shows I have heard of.
Roof?
The Joker.
No.
Oh, get stuffed.
I shall not.
Because we were
that was
talking about the
incorrect.
Joker before, and I just thought that's why we brought it up.
He won Best Actor, but it was not Best Picture.
Who watches
Okay.
the damn BAFTAs?
Oh, I don't even know what a BAFTA is. So.
Well, all right, sorry, but it's also like the favourite for the Oscars. Sorry.
What an unimaginative name for an award show. It sounds like
think
a
it's an
government
acronym.
authority you'd have to deal with, and you wouldn't want the bloody BAFTA's calling up again. You've gotta deal with the-
Well, apparently Hollywood stars don't go.
No, don't do that. The BAFTA will come after you.
Yeah, all right. Sorry, it is 1917, which, if you haven't seen already, is an extremely good film, and you should all watch it. Yes, 4.5 stars from James Bolt. Paper thin story. Knocks it off that half. All right, sorry. Well, don't have a lot of hope for this one, but who won Best Supporting Actor? Who is the favourite for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars?
Best supporting actor.
Best
Really,
Supporting
I know
Actor.
this.
Oh, absolutely no idea. Dekker loves movies. So
Apparently not.
Last one I saw was Cats.
That is not nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Sorry
I
to
know it
Idris
isn't.
Elba.
Wasn't nominated for anything, was it?
No, a few Razzies, but no Oscars.
I'm going to
all
sit
right.
this one out.
Okay, we also had a
Strategic.
bonus point at the end of this one, so we're going to scrap that part. But it was Brad Pitt for what's the movie?
What's the bonus question?
The bonus point was who accepted the award on his behalf because he didn't rock up.
Oh, I saw this on the news.
Oh, you get the bonus point, but not the actual question.
No,
This would be
wouldn't
huge.
have a clue who it was. I don't think I ever heard of the actress.
You have never heard of Margot Robbie.
No.
What an incredible moment.
I'm missing a pop culture gene.
If anyone doesn't doubt that, sorry, if anyone
Name rings a
doubts
bell,
that
but I
Gideon
couldn't put
Rosner
name to
doesn't
face.
live, breathe, and sleep
She's
with
an Aussie.
politics,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the fact that Gideon Rosner does not
politics
know
is
who
the only
Margot
form of
Robbie is
entertainment I need.
crazy. Just stunning
Look at you,
stuff.
you've triggered him.
I'm stunned. I am speechless. Someone else do the quiz. No, I'll do it.
Well, this isn't the Institute of bloody Hollywood and
Institute of
She's
Bloody
not from
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
showbiz and glitz and glamour and
Should be. Now, Greta Thunberg, back to people we all know. Greta Thunberg was nominated for which award this week?
Roof.
Roof.
Nobel Prize.
I knew
Nobel
that.
Peace Prize, indeed.
Yeah, Peace Prize even. Because she didn't win it last time, so...
I reckon they will nominate her every single year until she gets it. There will be some political body around the world that'll
and
be
she'll
like,
live
this
for
will get
another
us some
70
retweets.
years. So yeah, we'll never hear the end of it.
Indeed. Now, we're all on. No, sorry, we got Gideon on 2, we got Chris on 2, and we got Pete on 1. Last question before the Who Am I? WA taxpayer-owned State Theatre Centre apologised to the Chinese government this week.
Oh, Gideon.
Why?
Because they had some sort of Taiwanese cultural tribute.
They did indeed. They had.
The Free and Democratic Republic of China,
There we go.
which deserves international recognition.
Do you mean Taiwan?
Yes.
Yes. You said China. All right. So who am I? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Sorry, for 5 points.
Yeah.
I was born 100 years ago on Thursday.
100 years ago on Thursday.
109 years ago on Thursday.
So 1910. No, 1911.
So what's the
Did
most
that
fun
last
part
week.
of this quiz? Like, what's
Yeah.
2020?
The calendar
minus 100?
switch over has really hurt
Yeah,
the
it's got me
who
a
am
couple
I
of times.
arithmetic for you two.
It should make it easier. But yeah, no, I don't know who that is, James. Dekker.
All right.
Gideon?
Anyone? 1911.
No, I didn't
Any
know.
guesses? All right. Just a quick score check. Gideon on 2. Peter on 1. Chris on 3. No, Gideon on 3. Sorry. I wrote GD.
Don't show us the damn sheet.
Sorry.
You do this every time, Bolt. One day somebody's going to cut together all the footage of me accidentally sort of,
Yeah.
bits and pieces. That's why I wanted to sit
That
here
is
this
the
time.
least
That
of
will
your
be a
fears.
very dedicated fan.
Do enough people watch?
All right.
I hope so. What the hell are we all doing
If you've
here?
got something better to do, mate.
No.
I was told this is getting 50,000 views live.
4 points. I was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild in 1959. I will remind you, definitely know who this is. President of the Screen Actors
Gideon.
Guild in 1959.
Was it Ronald Reagan by
It
any
was
chance?
Ronald Reagan. Gideon has done it again.
Bloody hell.
Gideon is on...
Long live the Quiz King.
This is a mid-90s Bulls run from Gideon, which is a reference only I'm going to get at this panel. but
No,
it's a good one.
I know about the mid-90s Bulls.
All right, Gideon,
That's
well
what I was
done.
into.
Chris,
Thank
thank you
you.
for playing. Peter, thank you for playing. We've got
Pleasure
more
as
show for you
always.
guys after this.
Do it.
Congratulations to Gideon Boston, the unprecedented 4 in a row. How long can this last?
He's just too good on those Who Am I's.
Yeah, he does have some travel coming up, so he might have to, what do you call it? Abdicate.
Yeah.
That's the word, yeah.
Yeah. He has to abdicate the throne.
Yeah. All right, let us go through some stories that made us laugh this week. And this one is hot off the press. And we talk about it briefly in the quiz when we were still learning about what happened. But now that we get the full picture, what the hell happened at Iowa?
Oh, mate.
What the hell happened at Iowa?
The primaries are just poisoned for the party whoever's trying to win it. Like, it's all the major players fighting each other, and then something like this happens.
Okay, so for people that don't know or like know some of it, which is pretty much all of us, the Iowa caucus, which is, the first indicator of who's going to be the Democratic nominee
Very
or the
important.
Republican nominee, just whichever party's not in power. So Democrats are spending so long. We had the No Malarkey tour from Joe Biden,
Who
which
could
is
forget?
still my favorite name for a tour ever. But people have been campaigning in Iowa for weeks and months, trying to figure out who won. And the vote was last night, and we have no idea who won because the app crashed.
They had to give their victory speeches
Yep.
without knowing who won.
Yep. No, and only one of them did. And one of them's like, Pete Buttigieg was just like, you know what? I won.
Yeah.
By all accounts.
Oh, so he just claimed it.
I won. He didn't know. He just said by all indications. And we've now come out with 62% of the vote has been released, which is, congratulations on releasing 62% of the vote. But Pete is ahead in that. Now, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories that have come out. They found out that Bernie was up by 15 and the DNC were just like, don't release it, claim the app shut down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's not helping it. It's the fact that the app was set up by a company called Shadow Inc.
Yeah.
Was the name rigged taken on the ASX? Evil Incorporated?
Exactly right. And they said they're a permanent advantage. So this is how they describe themselves: a permanent advantage for progressive campaigns and causes through technology. You are not living up to your
Not.
credo at this point in time.
Say,
Yeah.
You've got one thing to live up to it. It's not that. So there's a whole lot of attention about what this Shadow Inc. is and who they are and where they come from. They were set up in 2019. They're this tech firm. They released this app. You uploaded the results of the app, and then the app would just tell people who won. But there was all these things coming through about how you needed to keep the app constantly open or would just lose data, which would be a tough thing to figure out first off when you put in thousands of votes and it's like, oh, we lost it.
That's right.
And then this other thing, here's one number I want to focus in on. The Democratic Party paid them $63,000 for this app. Now, I'm not a big app guy. I don't know a whole lot about the internet. 63 seems small for the most important thing in the result of an election.
I feel like
which is figuring out who won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm flabbergasted. I thought it would be millions. I thought you were going to say, they paid $25 million for it, and this is what happens.
63,000.
I'll make you an app for cheaper than that. I can't. I definitely couldn't do it.
Yeah, but the problem is it didn't work.
Yep.
Now, this is the big moment of the Democratic cycle. This is we're going to bring down Trump. I mean, we had the State of the Union yesterday. We're going to bring down Trump. We're going to run the country. You can trust us, but we can't figure out who won the Iowa election.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very sad. Now,
We're going to reform healthcare.
Exactly. Now, there is one particular moment I really want to hone in on, which might be the best video of 2020 already. Now, Sean Sebastian is one of the caucus secretaries, and he joins CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and you'll hear it, but he is just there to, Wolf's asking him, why is there no results? What do you know as the, caucus secretary? What can you tell us? Now, Sean is also subsequently on hold with the people at Shadow Inc., or just the people that know the results, and he's on hold waiting for them to tell him who won. He's been on hold for a while, and then they answer halfway through the interview. Let's see what happens.
Hearing, I know you're listening to a conversation from the Iowa Democratic Party.
Iowa Democratic Party. Can I help you? This is a real coincidence, Wolf. I just got off hold just now, so I've got to get off the phone to report the results.
All right, go ahead. Report your result. Can we listen in as you report them, Sean?
Yep.
All right,
Cool.
let's listen.
All right. Okay. Hi. Hello? They hung up on me.
That is the best primary soundbite since Please Clap.
How's the sadness like?
It's this perfect
they
mix
hung up
of
on me.
sadness and surprise. Just and played out for the entire nation.
Yep, that's right.
Beautiful.
Exactly right.
Yeah, this is crazy. We still don't they're booked in to do another primary, so it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And we still don't know who won Iowa.
Yeah,
but on to New Hampshire.
That's right. The latest thing is that Pete Buttigieg slightly ahead.
He is slightly ahead.
Sanders.
And Trump is going to beat any of these people
Especially after
so
this.
badly.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, the thing about the app is,
Yeah.
if the people who run it are all used to work for Clinton.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. All right, let's go on. There was this other article that I want to hone in on, which is all right. So it's this article that appeared in The Guardian. Why white women are paying $2,500 to learn about racism at dinner.
Yep.
So I'm just going to read the article and you just react as you wish. All right. Freshly made pasta is drying on the wooden banisters lining the hall of a beautiful home in Denver, Colorado.
Sounds nice.
Fox hunting photos decorate the walls in a room full of books. A fire is burning, and downstairs a group of liberal white women have gathered around a long wooden table to admit how racist they are. Recently, quote, recently I've been driving around, seeing a black person and having the assumption that they are up to no good.
That is racist.
Says Alison Kupsa.
That is quite racist.
Immediately after I am like, that's no good. This is a human just doing their thing. Why do I think that? I want to know why you think that, and then also why you think it's okay to tell the Guardian journalist that you think that. Like we now know you by name. That's so weird that you would allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Race to Dinner. A white woman volunteers to host a dinner in her home for 7 other white women, often strangers, perhaps acquaintances. Each dinner costs $2,500, which can be covered by a generous host or divided among guests. A frank discussion is led by co-founders Regina Jackson, who is black, and Sarah Rial, who identifies as Indian American. They started Race to Dinner to challenge liberal white women to accept their racism, however subconscious. If you did this in a conference room, they'd leave, Rao says, but wealthy white women have been taught never to leave the dinner table. That's also a little bit racist.
Yeah,
I'll say that. That's a little bit racist.
Yeah.
It seems unlikely anyone would voluntarily go to a dinner party in which they'd be asked one by one, what's the racist thing you did recently? Don't know why. Yeah. But by 2 women of colour before appetizers are served. But Jackson and Rao have hardly been able to take a break since they started these dinners in the spring of 2019. So far, 15 dinners have been held in cities across the US. Now, I don't say a whole lot of things. I don't call a lot of people heroes, but these 2 people are my hero.
How come?
What an incredible way to make money.
Oh, yeah.
You get paid handsomely to go to a dinner with people you don't know and yell at them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's an incredible business idea.
I can't imagine how much fun that job is.
Well, it's good work for those that can get it.
Exactly.
I don't know if it'd be fun.
I can't do it. I'd love to, but I can't do it.
I don't reckon it would be fun.
Are you serious?
Just be like, why are you doing this? Why are you paying me money for me to do this to you?
Yeah, you think that. You don't say it.
Anyway,
you just get to gripe.
the thing is, ironically, this is the whitest thing I've ever heard. And
unbelievably white.
And if you're-
now, we've just criticised people for being racist, but this is very white.
Yeah.
This is very, very white.
And if you're going to pay $2,500, like I don't think white privilege exists, right? But if you're going to pay $2,500,
I'm pretty sure it does.
whatever. If you're going to pay $2,500, you are privileged.
You're insanely privileged.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one of the great stories of our time. All right, let's figure out as the last thing for this show.
Yep.
Let's figure out if there is a podcast bump or not.
Yep. All right. So, okay. Now, Bolt likes romantic comedies.
I do.
If you didn't know that, Bolt definitely likes romantic comedies. And in a romantic comedy,
I don't think what my favourite one would be.
Yeah, I'll
Come
let
back
you
to
think. In romantic comedies, often the lead female...
I mean, 500 Days of Summer is a bit creepy when you watch it back. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Someone like Renee Zellweger or whatever is like, should I go with this guy? Makes a list of pros and cons. Now, we're going to try to do the same thing with our show. We've always running this theory.
To see if we should still date each other.
No, absolutely.
Sorry, I thought I'd follow your train of thought. I wasn't.
Yeah.
My bad.
To decide if people who come on the show have a podcast bump or have a inverse bump.
Yes.
A fall, whatever.
A fall. Yeah.
So,
an inverse bump, also known as a fall.
that's an interesting way of talking.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How'd you break your arm? I inverse bumped.
Yeah. So, you go first. Give us your
all right,
bumps.
sorry. For bump, I've got Andrew Bogut. Favorite interview we ever did for me.
Yeah.
Andrew Bogut won a ring after coming on the show.
That's the grand final?
Yes, a championship ring.
Yep.
So
He'd buy a
Andrew
ring.
Bogut would prove that there is a podcast bump.
Yep.
Who have you got?
Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage.
Got Brexit.
Yep.
Got
Done.
Brexit.
Done. 2-0.
Yeah. Who else? I've got another one, but
You go yours.
okay. Not Mary Kissel, right? She's very. She was already pretty at the Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
But now she's at the State Department, and she's very high up. She
3?
would know things about Kim Jong Un that like no one else does.
3-0. I've also got Callum Thwaites and Daisy Cousins, both friends of the show, now engaged.
Yeah, that's
I'm counting
cute.
that as 2.
That's cute.
That's 5-0.
Yep.
All right, so that's 5 people
Yep.
that have had a podcast bump. Now, the reason we bring this up is because Matt Canavan has stepped down from the ministry.
That's right. I forgot to. That's a key
That
part.
was a key part, but
Yeah.
Matt Canavan has stepped down from the ministry after the Nationals leadership spill.
Yep.
And he is also a friend of the show, and we would call losing the ministry, even though I still say that story is still going, losing the ministry for the time being is a fall.
Yeah, at this point it is.
So he would be 1.
Yep.
Yeah, who else would you have up there?
Now I've got my.
So it's
list.
5-1.
Oh, now yeah. So Matt Canavan, Tom McDonald,
I
Melbourne
also had Tom
footballer.
McDonald,
I
yeah.
go for the Mighty D's. Had a really great year the year before, 2018. 2019, dogged it. Got injured. And
Oh, well, yeah, dogged is a bit hard. Was battling injuries.
he dogged it first, then got injured.
Okay, fair enough. So 5-2.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I've got a good one.
Okay.
Here's one for you. Joffa Corfey,
What's happened to Joffa?
leader of the Collingwood cheer squad.
Don't tell me something's happened to Joffa.
Famous Melbourne identity. We interviewed him. Went massive all over the Herald
Stop
Sun.
stalling and tell me what happened to Joffa.
Joffa has decided to move to a remote village in Fiji
Yep.
near the town of Baaaah. He's given up the Collingwood leadership of the cheer squad, 2 hours to the nearest town to watch the Pies. Says he'll fly back if they make the granny.
Didn't he do that to help underprivileged communities with houses?
That's sort of part of it, but I don't know if that's... what
I
it
am
is.
going to count it as a bump.
You're going to
That's
count it as a bump?
That is more reward. Like, that's a better thing to do than
The
be a
leader of the
Collingwood
Collingwood
leader.
cheer
Yeah,
squad.
you're helping people that really need it. That's 6-2 in my books.
Okay.
All right, so despite Matt
Fair enough.
Canavan throwing what is it?
Inverse bump.
No, so but despite Matt Canavan throwing a spanner into the works,
Yeah,
is the
okay.
phrase I'm going for, is going like wrench or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a alpha male. I don't know about spanners and works and wrenches.
Yeah.
But it is 6-2.
Okay.
So I think there is still a podcast.
I think
bump.
it's definitely a bump. Like people always... Like we say bump more than invert. Like the fact we had to invent a word for inverse bump means that it's
Still the word fall.
Not normally happens. So.
All right, sweet. That is
we've got to be aware of it. It does
Another
happen
podcast bump.
sometimes.
If you come on this show, good things happen to you.
Yep.
Word out there for people that we're thinking of interviewing.
That's our position.
All right, that is it for the show this week. Thanks again to Chris Dekker and Gideon Rosner. And remember, Generation Liberty, if you do want to join that community of people that care about freedom markets, freedom of speech, individual liberty, all these things, they get together, they discuss them, they debate them and argue them. IPA.org.au/join. We've got
That's it.
Generation Liberty membership, and check us out at the O Weeks.
And
that are
also
coming up
go to
around
the
country.
Generation Liberty website.
Generation Liberty website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Generation Liberty, we're everywhere. All right, that is it for the show this week. See you guys next week.
Thanks, Josh. Stay up.